You know what's scariest about the modern world of work? Not that it's hard to find a job, but that one job no longer allows you to simply live. People used to get hired by a company, work 9 to 6, get a paycheck, and that was enough for rent, for food, for life. Now, 47% of workers juggle multiple jobs simultaneously. This is called polyworking. And it's not a trend. It's the new reality. You wake up in the morning, you go to your main job for 8 hours. You come home, and instead of resting, you open your laptop and start your second shift. Maybe you drive for a rideshare service, maybe you do freelance projects, maybe you sell goods online or create content for money. And you know what's wildest? You're not doing this because you want to build an empire. You're doing it because your main salary doesn't cover basic expenses. 51% of people working multiple jobs say additional income is absolutely necessary to pay monthly bills. Without this money, you won't survive. 38% plan to work multiple jobs permanently. And here's what's interesting. Polyworking is distributed unevenly. 50% combine a main full-time job with side gigs. 28% juggle multiple part-time positions. And 12%, listen to this, work multiple full-time jobs simultaneously. Imagine 2 full jobs at 40 hours per week, 80 hours of work every week. 68% do this for additional income to cover living expenses. But let's look at the numbers deeper. Freelancers in America earned $1.5 trillion last year. That's 64 million people working outside the traditional system. And you know how much they earn? The median income for a full-time freelancer is $85,000 per year, more than many office workers. And those who combine a main job with freelance projects? An additional $40,000 per year? 52% of Gen Z already work as freelancers. 53% of them do it full-time. They don't enter the traditional employment system at all. They immediately choose independence. And here's what's happening. 99% of employers plan to hire freelancers next year. Companies themselves are abandoning permanent employees. Why pay full salary, benefits, and insurance when you can hire a specialist for a project? But there's a flip side. 67% of people with side hustles experience burnout. 73% of Gen Z and 68% of millennials feel exhausted. Nearly 1 in 5 says their side hustle drains them more than their main job. Because here's the problem. The average person spends 13 hours per week on a side hustle. That's on top of 40 hours at the main job. 53 hours per week minimum. And if you have multiple side hustles, 60, 70, 80 hours. And people break down after 8 hours of side work per week. 41% say side hustling destroys their sleep. 33% note negative effects on mental health and mood. 22% admit their relationships suffer. One person put it perfectly, I'm never off. Never. You wake up, you're working. You fall asleep, you're working. No weekends, no time for yourself. Every minute must bring money because if not, you can't pay for housing. And you know what's wildest? Society treats this like it's normal, like working 3 jobs is just part of adult life. But why is this even happening? In 2025, American employers hired only 181,000 people for the entire year. For comparison, in 24, there were 1,460,000. The job market froze. At the same time, companies announced 108,435 layoffs. People are losing stable positions every day. Corporations are cutting staff. Automation is replacing people. Artificial intelligence is taking over entire professions. So if your main job could disappear tomorrow, having multiple income sources isn't ambition, it's survival. Gen Z doesn't want to play by the old rules at all. They don't believe in the corporate ladder. They don't believe that if you grind for 20 years at one company, you'll be rewarded with a pension and respect. They saw their parents get laid off after decades of loyalty. Instead, they're building what experts call a lily pad career. Not a vertical ladder up, but jumps between different opportunities like lily pads on a pond. You choose projects that fit you right now. Not for a career 10 years from now, but for meaning and money today. 57% of Gen Z prefer side hustles to a corporate chair. They don't need a corner office. They need freedom, flexibility, and control over their time. And they're right, because look at the burnout statistics. Gen Z burns out by age 25. People used to burn out by 42. The traditional career trajectory promised that if you sacrifice your 20s, you'll be rewarded in your 30s and 40s. Gen Z saw that promise doesn't work, so they're choosing the creator economy. 82% of American creators earn from brand partnerships. Successful creators with medium-sized audiences earn $185,000 per year, 28% growth in a year. And this isn't by accident. They have at least 3 income sources: brand deals, platform advertising, product sales. Diversification. The freelance platform market will reach $14 billion by 2029. 48% of Fortune 500 companies already hire freelancers. 4 out of 10 job listings now allow remote work. This is the new economy. Upwork controls 61% of the freelance market. 18 million freelancers in 180 countries. 855,000 active clients. And demand is only growing. Artificial intelligence, blockchain development, video content, cybersecurity. But let's return to the main question. What's next? 36% of people working traditional full-time jobs are considering switching to freelance. They look at colleagues who went independent and see them earning more, working less, and living happier. Economic uncertainty and changing attitudes towards stability make freelancing an attractive choice. Companies can no longer guarantee security, but they demand loyalty. That's not a deal. So people are choosing themselves. They're leaving corporations. They're building portfolio careers. They're monetizing their skills directly. They're no longer playing a game where the rules are written against them. Not chasing titles and positions. Choosing roles that give balance between money, meaning, and personal life. Jumping between projects instead of climbing one ladder for 20 years. Gen Z values learning and development as much as advancement. They don't need a manager title. They need new skills, interesting challenges, and the opportunity to grow horizontally, not vertically. The old model is dead, the corporate ladder has collapsed, and attempts to force people back to it only accelerate turnover. So here's where we've arrived. $1.5 trillion earned by freelancers in a year, 64 million Americans working outside the system. 47% of all workers juggle multiple roles. 51% say it's necessity, not choice. The side hustle generation is about survival. It's about adapting to an economy that broke the old rules. One job used to mean stability. Now it means risk. So people choose 3. Write in the comments, how many income sources do you have right now? And do you think this is even normal? See you in the next one.